The moment Evelyn realized she was the real target, everything shifted. Amanda hadn't just fallen into a scandal, she'd been a pawn in a much deeper game. Marcus, or whatever his real name was, had been after Evelyn's influence, her connections, and her access to sensitive corporate data. The affair was just leverage. With Amanda out of the way, Marcus was preparing to get close to Evelyn next, either to manipulate her directly or through someone else. We had to act fast. I arranged a secure meeting with the law firm's lead investigator. The data from the listening device confirmed what we suspected. It was transmitting to a satellite relay connected to a burner server in Eastern Europe, likely used to mask Marcus's real location. But there was a breakthrough. During a silent period in the signal, the device accidentally logged a ping from a local source. We had an address. It was a small luxury condo just outside the city. I didn't tell Evelyn where I was going. I didn't want to drag her into the danger. I parked a few blocks away and approached the building on foot, wearing a ball cap and shades. The doorman was distracted with a delivery, and I slipped into the elevator unnoticed. Apartment 27B. The hallway smelled of expensive cologne and cover-up. I knocked once. Silence. Then, just as I turned to leave, the door opened. Marcus stood there, clean-shaven, calm, smiling. "I was wondering when you'd show up," he said. "Come to finish the job?" I didn't speak. He stepped aside, and I walked in, hand near the pepper spray in my jacket. The apartment was sparse. Just a laptop, a suitcase, and an array of shredded documents on the counter. He poured himself a drink and sat down. "You ruined the best setup I've ever had," he said casually. Amanda was perfect, predictable, desperate, and greedy. And you? You were the background noise. I underestimated that. I hit record on the hidden mic in my watch. "What was your endgame?" I asked. He shrugged. "Same as always. Isolate the asset, extract what I need, disappear. I don't destroy people for fun. Just business." I let him talk. He was arrogant, confident, and sloppy. Within minutes, he admitted to manipulating Amanda, to planting evidence, and to staging the travel logs that got her fired. He even slipped up and mentioned Blackbird by name. I had everything I needed. As I turned to leave, he said, "You're not walking out of here." But I already had. The door burst open. 2 plainclothes officers stepped in. I'd sent the law firm the apartment address minutes before I arrived. They'd been listening. Marcus was arrested on the spot. Multiple counts: fraud, identity theft, corporate espionage. As they cuffed him, he looked at me, no longer smiling. "You have no idea what you've done," he hissed. "This goes way higher than me." But I didn't care. He was done. Over the next few weeks, Amanda was cleared of certain charges after evidence showed Marcus had manipulated her records. She resigned permanently and vanished from public view. Evelyn regained control of her assets, and the companies she was connected to began internal audits to see just how far Marcus's influence had spread. I returned to my normal life, as close to normal as it could be after everything. I'd lost my job, but gained something more valuable: truth, justice, and a new purpose. Evelyn and I stayed in touch. She offered to fund a new investigative firm with me at the helm. I accepted. And on the first day of business, she walked in with a single envelope and said, "There's more where that came from." I smiled. Because while Amanda thought she fired a simple employee, she had unknowingly unleashed the one person who would bring their entire scheme crashing down. And as for Marcus, he wasn't the last of them. Just the beginning. Because now I knew the game, and I was no longer playing defense. I was going hunting. The deeper I dug into Marcus's past, the clearer it became this wasn't his first infiltration. He was a saboteur, a professional manipulator. His alias had popped up in 3 different mid-level firms in the last 5 years. Each case had the same pattern: enter quietly as a consultant or new hire, build influence with an executive, sometimes romantically, and then, within 6 months, there'd be financial chaos, resignations, or internal audits. No legal action ever stuck. He left each job clean, erased, like a virus that deletes itself once the system crashes. But this time, I had something none of the others did. A full investigative file. Photos, audio, GPS logs, and a name he didn't expect to follow him. I decided to dig one step deeper and called in a favor from an old friend of mine who worked cybersecurity for the Department of Insurance Fraud. He owed me a solid from a past case, and within a few hours, I had a decrypted email chain from Marcus's burner inbox. That's when I saw it. An encrypted thread between Marcus and an unnamed sender using the code name Blackbird. The contents of the message were chilling. Target acquired. Amanda is compliant. Asset transfer in progress. Leverage collected. Ready to deploy final stage. Will need exit route in 2 weeks max. Possible whistleblower risk monitoring. That last line? It confirmed everything. I wasn't just caught in a workplace drama. I was a variable in a larger scheme, and Marcus had clocked me as a threat. I couldn't go to the police note yet. Everything I had was circumstantial or obtained through private means. But if I could tie Marcus to this Blackbird and the fraudulent exits from his previous jobs, I could blow the lid off a multi-company infiltration racket. And if Evelyn got dragged into it again, she might lose everything. So I did what I do best. I disappeared. For the next 3 days, I went underground. I checked into a short-term rental under a fake name, turned off all my personal devices, and used old gear from my PI Daysburner phones, a secure laptop, a VPN routed through 3 countries. I started piecing together timelines, cross-referencing Marcus's aliases with exit scandals from other companies. That's when I found something that made my skin crawl. 2 years ago, a CFO at a healthcare tech company was implicated in insider trading. A month before that, she had been romantically linked to a consultant named Daniel Reeve. The same face, same smile, different name. The woman took the fall. Daniel Reeve disappeared. The money was never recovered. Another year back, a COO of a logistics firm in Chicago resigned after a personal scandal involving misuse of company funds for travel. Sound familiar? The consultant's name that time, Mark Rudd. Same photo. This man didn't just seduce executives. He destroyed them. Cleanly, efficiently, and always moved on before the dust settled. Marcus Dean was just his latest mask. I compiled everything into a new file labeled Chameleon. I knew I had enough to go public now, but it had to be calculated. One wrong move and the whole thing would vanish like smoke. So I arranged a meeting. Not with the police, not with the press, but with a private law firm specializing in corporate espionage and whistleblower protection. I used Evelyn as the referral. When I met them, I showed them the file. They didn't ask how I got it. They just said, "You have something here." And then they asked the question I feared. "Is he still watching you?" I didn't know. I hadn't been home in days. I hadn't used any trackable device. But Marcus was good. Too good. That night, I returned to my apartment under the cover of darkness. Everything seemed untouched. Lights off. No signs of a break-in. But something felt wrong. The kind of wrong you don't see. You feel. I walked in slowly, scanned every room, checked my hiding spots. Nothing. But then I found a tiny device tucked beneath my living room speaker. A mic. Not just a bug. A live transmitter. He had been listening, tracking, watching, and I had just walked into his trap. I grabbed the device with gloves, sealed it in a bag, and left immediately. I knew I had to go full offensive. Waiting for Marcus to make the next move wasn't an option. I sent the device to the law firm's forensics team and went straight to Evelyn. I told her everything about Marcus, the multiple identities, the pattern of corporate destruction. Her face went pale. "He was never after Amanda," she whispered. "He was after me through her." I didn't understand. "I own shares in 5 other companies," she said. "I sit on 3 boards. If he could manipulate Amanda to gain access to my contacts," she trailed off. I saw the realization hit her like a punch. Amanda was just a door. Evelyn was the vault. And Marcus wanted the key. I didn't waste time sulking. The moment I got home, I backed up every piece of evidence I had. 2 external hard drives, an encrypted cloud vault, and a private USB I kept on my keychain. This wasn't just about Amanda anymore. It was about power, abuse of it, arrogance. The kind of arrogance that thinks no one is watching. I met Evelyn that evening. Neutral location. A quiet wine bar on the outskirts of the city. She wore dark glasses and a wide hat. Paranoid? Maybe. But I admired the caution. I slid the folder across the table. Her hands trembled as she opened it. She flipped through photos, time-stamped logs, transcripts of Amanda's call siege page peeling away another layer of betrayal. She didn't cry. Not once. She just sat there, reading, absorbing. Then she looked up and said 5 words I'll never forget. I want to burn her. Evelyn wasn't just hurt, she was livid. Not just because Amanda had cheated, but because Amanda had weaponized her position to replace people like chess pieces. She fired you to give him your job? Evelyn asked, her voice low. And you were the only one loyal. I didn't need to say anything. The proof spoke for itself. That's when Evelyn leaned in and whispered something that changed everything. She made me sign everything over to her name last year. The properties, the shares. She said it was for legal protection during tax audits. I trusted her. But now, her voice cracked for the first time. Now, I need leverage. That's when our roles flipped. I was no longer just the investigator. I was her ally, her partner. And together we decided to execute a plan that would expose Amanda not just to her but to the entire board of directors. Because Amanda wasn't just cheating on her spouse. She was misusing company funds, taking romantic getaways on corporate expense accounts, falsifying travel reports, reimbursing Marcus for stays at hotels he never had legitimate business at. We started by compiling a second, more refined dossier this time tailored for Crowthorne's Compliance and Ethics Committee. Evelyn, as a silent shareholder, still had legal rights to request an audit, but we needed a whistleblower. That's where I came in. I drafted the anonymous complaint using my old investigative firm's template. It detailed everything: names, dates, financial discrepancies, GPS logs, even the voice recording from the Sedona hotel suite. And we didn't just submit it to the board. We leaked it to a journalist, a hungry one, the kind who doesn't blink when handed a scandal involving corporate fraud and a secret office romance. Within 48 hours, the company was in full crisis mode. I watched from the shadows as Crowthorne erupted. Meetings were canceled. Phones buzzed nonstop. Amanda was called into a special audit session with internal counsel. Marcus vanished from the directory by noon. And by Friday, Amanda Trentance, the queen of the 17th floor, was escorted out of the building with her belongings in a cardboard box. No goodbyes, no press release, just a silent fall from grace. Evelyn called me the next day. She was calm, almost serene. The board's voting to reverse the asset transfers, she said. They've opened a fraud investigation. Amanda tried to deny everything until the recording surfaced. Then she said something I didn't expect. You didn't just help me. You saved me. I didn't know what to say. Part of me felt triumphant. The other part, strangely hollow. Because in bringing Amanda down, I saw just how easily people can be discarded. I had lived it myself. Fired, not because I failed, but because I was inconvenient. Amanda and Marcus had seen me as background noise. A pawn. But pawns, when played right, can take down queens. It would have ended there, except it didn't. Because one night, about 2 weeks after the fallout, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. I answered cautiously. The voice on the other end froze my blood. You think you're clever. It was Marcus. You think you can just ruin people and walk away? I stayed silent. You don't know who I work for, he hissed. Amanda was just one part of the plan. Then the line went dead. I sat in the dark for a long time after that. What plan? Who did he mean? Something told me this wasn't over. I went back over every file, every connection Marcus had. There were inconsistencies. People who vouched for him who didn't exist. A LinkedIn page full of holes. He had walked into Crowthorne like a ghost and now he was disappearing just as fast. I dug deeper. Old emails. Conference photos. I used facial recognition software and found a match. Marcus Dean had gone by at least 2 other aliases at different firms across the country. Each time, his boss mysteriously disappeared, resigned, or got caught in a scandal. He wasn't just a lover, he was a plant, and I had just disrupted something much bigger than a corporate affair. They thought I was just another expendable employee, a faceless worker they could discard in silence. But what they didn't know, what they never expected, was that the man they just fired was the same man secretly investigating them for months. Not as their employee, but as the private investigator hired by their spouse. They fired me to make room for their secret lover, but I had already caught them red-handed. This isn't just a story of betrayal in the workplace. It's about justice, deception, and the ultimate twist they never saw coming. It all started on a rainy Thursday morning. The kind of morning where the clouds hang so low you feel like they're watching you. I walked into the sleek glass building of Crowthorne Financial, a mid-sized firm with big egos and even bigger offices. My job? Mid-level risk analyst. Nothing flashy, nothing glamorous. But it gave me access. Access to systems, schedules, reports, and most importantly, people. My boss, Amanda Trent, was the kind of leader who commanded silence just by walking into a room. Cold. Impeccably dressed. Calculated. For months, whispers floated through the corridors. Late meetings. Closed-door calls. Trips that didn't quite line up with the calendar. It didn't concern me until I got a call from a client that changed everything. Not a corporate client, a private one. Her name was Evelyn Trent, Amanda's wife. She wanted to hire me to investigate Amanda for suspected infidelity. "You're discreet?" she asked over the phone. I almost laughed. I had spent 5 years as a licensed private investigator before switching careers. I knew how to dig without being seen. I also knew this job would be personal. Evelyn offered a figure I couldn't ignore and told me not to reveal her identity under any circumstance. She must never know it was me, she said. Do whatever you have to. Just get the truth. And just like that, my ordinary job at Crowthorne became something else entirely. Every coffee break became surveillance. Every department meeting, a chance to observe Amanda's behavior. I used a combination of burner devices and secure cloud backups. I installed a second phone app under the guise of a wellness tracker, but used it to record conversations and log GPS data. The patterns didn't take long to emerge. Amanda wasn't just working late. She was meeting someone, a man named Marcus Dean, HR consultant by title, Lothario by lifestyle, new to the company, too new. Marcus appeared out of nowhere with a glowing resume and a reference letter from an executive no one could verify. Yet, somehow, he was already in Amanda's office more often than the VP of Finance. Their body language screamed secrecy. Eyes too careful. Smiles too knowing. I snapped photos. Tracked schedules. Even followed Amanda once, when she said she was flying to a leadership summit in Phoenix but checked into a luxury resort in Sedona instead. With Marcus. Room 524. Together. I documented everything. My instincts screamed that something bigger was happening. But I kept quiet. Until it hit closer to home. I walked into work one morning and was called into Amanda's office. No warning. No explanation. Her voice was ice. "We're letting you go. Budget cuts." She didn't look me in the eye. "Your last day is today. HR will process your paperwork." I sat there, stunned. Budget cuts? I was the one who'd recommended cost-saving strategies that had just saved the company $2 million. My evaluations were spotless. My performance, top tier. But I knew the truth. She wasn't cutting costs. She was cutting Meadow make room for him. Marcus had been spotted going into Amanda's office 3 times that week. By Monday, his name was on the staff directory under my job title. Risk analyst. Same office. Same desk. They didn't even bother hiding it. I left the building without saying a word. But inside, I was already planning the final phase of my report. I wasn't just an ex-employee now. I was the person holding the dagger they never saw coming. Amanda and Marcus thought they had outmaneuvered everyone. They didn't know they were already trapped in a web of their own lies, and I was the spider pulling the thread. The evidence I had was explosive. Surveillance photos, travel logs, financial transactions showing questionable expense reports. But the best part? Audio. I had a full recording of Amanda and Marcus at the resort, speaking in hushed tones about how no one would ever find out and how getting rid of dead weight was the next move. I was the dead weight. And now, I was the fuse about to ignite everything they built.